Voice control is choosing the tone, the pitch and the volume that you use when speaking to students.
Different scenarios require a different tone and a different pitch. The tone that I would use when giving instructions to a whole class is very different to the tone that I would use when having an individual conversation with a student.
A regular tone is for just normal everyday teaching, and then more of an assertive tone when I'm addressing students or giving very clear, concise instructions, or when I'm addressing individual student behaviour.
Using different volume, pace, pitch and tone lets students know when it's more of a relaxed communication or when maybe they need to be reminded of correct behaviour expectation and now it's time to pay attention.
So I can modify my volume, I can modify my tone to demonstrate to students about where they're at in regards to the behaviour expectations and meeting them without having to explicitly state them.
I would use a regular voice and stance when I'm having regular conversations with the students, when we're having learning conversations or I'm just chatting with the students. What sound? What's the name of that letter? Who's our new friend that we learned? C, flamingo, flats. When I'm using a regular voice and stance, my tone is more relaxed and I usually have a smile as well. Oh, it's on his trunk. Good job. Would you like a balloon? Would you like a balloon? Oh, yes, please, Ellie. When I'm speaking in a regular way, I would vary my pitch to be low, high, enthusiastic. When I have a more regular tone, my body language tends to also be relaxed. Waterfall. All right, that was a practice round. Stand up now that we've practiced. Next time, if I don't say Simon Says, you can't do it, you've got to stand still. When I'm speaking regularly, it's quite high-pitched and it varies. When I have an assertive voice, I tend to go lower. Remember, tracking means you're looking and listening, not talking. Track with me. Phonemes are all, remember, looking and listening, not talking. Let's try that again. I would use an assertive voice or stance if students weren't meeting behaviour expectations or if they were being too loud. KB, eyes to me in 3, 2, learning lips, 1, 0. Thank you, KB. I can see everyone has their learning lips. When I'm being assertive, if I'm trying to gain all the classroom's attention or it's a situation where they're being too loud, I'll use a higher volume with a lower tone. But when I'm speaking one-to-one with a student, I won't speak louder, but I will use a more stern tone with them. So you've been talking to your friends and it's time to focus and do our work. If you keep on talking to your friends, I'll have to move you where you can concentrate. Show me how you're going to focus on your learning. When I'm using an assertive tone, I tend to speak a little bit slower so that students understand that it's serious and they can listen carefully to the words that I'm saying. I make sure that I'm facing the student straight on and that I'm looking at them in the eye when I'm talking to them. When I vary my tone and my stances, students are more engaged. They're paying attention to what I'm saying and doing. They can use the vocal cues to understand what's expected of them, and it makes sure that they understand what behaviour expectations are needed.
I would use a regular voice and stance when I'm talking individually with students or a small group of students in a more conversational tone, as opposed to when I'm addressing an entire class. Do you remember what those little squiggly things are? The head and the little legs. Think smaller, so we're talking cell membrane here, right? So, do you mind if I draw on your book? When I'm talking individually to students, it's more of a conversational tone. It's far more casual. The volume's quite low.
One fly and a bunch of sticks.
Oh, there's like massive bugs over there from some of them, like massive things. Briar, thank you for putting your hand up. I'll be there in about 30 seconds.
And there is one more fly here.
See about removing this stuff. So the variety of pitches that I would use in a regular voice is a lot more casual. It tends to be a little bit more jovial and a little bit more fun because that helps me to continue to build positive relationships with students. Please.
What's the juices?
It's like if we backpacked a piece of steak, there'd be juices there too. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Have they been like
You look terrified. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
So my body language when I'm using a conversational tone with students is far more relaxed. It's just an opportunity to just have a bit of a think and see what you come up with. So we've got a bit of a thought process down here about daughters having daughters. Is that right? Did I get that right? Which is a fantastic start because they're right. When I'm addressing the class or giving instructions, the word that you could probably use at that tone is a little bit more stern because of the instruction giving. Examples of when I would use an assertive voice and stance would be entry procedures with the students, going through the lining up, having equipment, entering the room. But after gaining all student attention and giving an instruction, they would all involve the use of an assertive tone. So usual entrance routines when you head in, you're going to walk in, mouths closed, standing behind the chairs. You will need to collect a chair today. 3, 2, 1. Equipment down, eyes on me, thank you. So in regards to cleaning up your biological material, that means the toad and any pieces of the toad. I make an effort to lower my voice slightly when using an assertive tone. I find that that's easier to project that across a larger area to ensure that all students can hear me clearly. The disinfectant spray is on the trolley, and grab some paper towel by the sink to clean down, wipe down your benches, disinfect your benches please. When I'm being assertive in the classroom and using different volume, especially in a practical setting, and the student's volume is loud due to it being a practical activity, I'll find that I'll need to use a higher volume but ensure that I'm not shouting to ensure that I can still gain student attention. Okay, so you've got about 1 minute to finish off with your dissection and then we're going to start packing up. The pace that I use when using an assertive voice, I will slow down how I say things to students when giving very explicit, clear instructions to ensure that they have processing time to understand what I'm asking of them. So the pressure, when you're using the scalpel, please take your time, don't rush, and be quite gentle with the pressure. I'm standing as tall as I can, and I'm making sure that I'm highly visible to all the students. 3, 2, 1. The impact of using various voices and stances allows me to communicate to students how I think that they're meeting my expectations without me having to explicitly state it. It's just another use of a non-verbal cue.
So when I'm using a regular tone, it's usually game time. It might be morning circle sharing time. Kids can put up their hands and give me opinions of what we're talking about. So it's a bit more of a relaxed kind of environment. Today, let's have a look at did anyone say anything thoughtful to anyone today? My regular voice tone is probably a bit more relaxed. It's probably a bit quieter and just calmer. If I break it up like that, because it does make it a little bit easier. How many different units of repeat have I actually got here in my pattern? 2, that's right. There's 1 and there's another one. No other units of repeat are different. They're just 1 and 2. So how many units have I got? When using a regular voice, the variety of pitch is high to low. It just kind of depends on what activity we're doing. Here's your pattern. How many units of repeat? 1. Just that one there. How many terms? 1, 2, 3. How many elements? 3, 6, 9. Perfect. With a regular voice, it depends on the situation. If I'm speaking to a child down at their level, it might be a quieter kind of whispery type voice. If I'm addressing the whole class, it might be a bit more loud and a bit more focused on the whole group. Depending on what it is, if it's an activity, it might be a bit more fun, a bit of expression in my voice. The work you have done is absolutely fantastic. You should be really proud of it. Put up your hand if you've done 1 repeating pattern with 1 unit. Put up your hand if you've done that. Hands down. Put up your hand if you've done another repeating pattern with 2 units. Fantastic. When using a regular voice, it's usually my body language is very relaxed. It's quite expressive. The hands go. I think the students kind of gauge that the lesson might be a bit more relaxed. Can you give me a homophone? C and the C. So when using assertive voice, this might be in the context of giving specific instructions for a lesson task, or I might be correcting behaviour, and the tone I'll be using would be more direct, more assertive, straight to the point, and a lower pitch. So Mrs. Morrison's going to go over to the table to show you what to do, okay? So just like we normally do in maths, you can stand around, you can kneel around the sides, and then everybody else can stand around those people. But we need to be doing that quietly, okay? So what do you need to do when you come to the table? Stand. Kneel. Stand and quietly. When being assertive, I think volume comes into that. For example, I use the attention grabber waterfalls, so it might be quite like loud to start with and then go calmer towards the end as they settle in. All right, waterfalls. Can someone just let me know, what was the instruction that I gave you when you left the table? Can you pop your hand up if you can let me know? So the pace I'd use for an assertive voice would probably be slower. It'll be more assertive, just to emphasise the instructions that I'm giving. When using assertive voice, my posture will be upright, direct to the student, so they know that I need their attention. Okay, 3 lines. Willow, that's a great spot for you to be.
Can we get our hats now?
Thank you for the people that sat down nicely and waited for me to give you the next instruction. Hands down, okay? Having a varying voice control helps students understand what's expected of them. So if I'm using the assertive voice, they know that they need to stop and look straight away, so they are not missing out on what instructions or what needs to happen next. Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, just wait for me to let you know when to go. Okay, all right, can you please stand up and really quietly and nicely walk to the corridor, making sure that you're not running, okay? Go have a wonderful break. See ya. Yep. Okay, see ya.